Welcome to the AI Applied podcast. Connor and I have switched coasts. I'm on the East Coast now. He's over on the West Coast. But we're still bringing the podcast to you from our hotels. So today we want to do everything going on with OpenAI. There is so much news here. It is absolutely crazy. We have ChatGPT Record, which came out. OpenAI researchers have found a trait inside of the AI model that can make it more manipulative, and they're figuring out how to steer it. There's Sam Altman's done a whole bunch of podcasts. There's the OpenAI files. There is just so much stuff that has come out. So yeah, we're going to be breaking all of that down for you. But before we do, if you're interested in really upskilling yourself in a day where AI is completely changing everything, the number one way I recommend people do this when they ask is to go check out Connor's AI Mindset course. There's a link in the description to it, but essentially it shows you how to think about AI and the frameworks you can use to implement it into your business and career and actually get a lot of benefit out of it. It's a lot of stuff that they don't teach other places, and so Connor was kind of frustrated by this. He's really focused on the behavioral shift, and so he put together this course. There have been thousands of people. He has whole entire companies and enterprises giving their whole departments access to this thing. So if you have a company and you really want your employees or your coworkers to also upskill with you, make sure to send this over to your manager or people in your organization. It's a phenomenal thing. So link in the description. Enough of that plug. Connor wasn't aware, but I just had to give a shout out for that. All right, Connor, tell me what you're most excited for here with OpenAI and what's going on.
Jaeden, thank you for that plug. Incredibly kind. Listen, we could do like 5 episodes on OpenAI right now. I don't even know where to begin. First of all, Sam Altman, the past week or two, has been all over the place. He's gone on like a podcast tour. So he was on with his brother, right? He was on with Andrew Main with the new OpenAI podcast, which is a competing podcast, which now we hate them. No, I'm joking. Like, listen, I will always listen to podcasts that are done by OpenAI. That sounds phenomenal. And he put out that blog, Jaeden. You saw that whole gentle singularity thing. So, I mean, without going into all that, but also I definitely want to talk about ChatGPT Record, because I was through NYU. We do some work with OpenAI, and so they were showing me some of the new features around connectors, which I think we've talked about before. Let me just start with some of the stuff that Sam Altman was saying, in case this is interesting, Jaeden, you want to jump in on any of this. But first of all, like, there's like this whole gentle singularity thing, which sounds totally ominous, if I'm being honest. But I think that he said last year, whatever, he's like, I'm not sure which side of the singularity we're on, but point being, like, intelligence is just too cheap to meter, he says. It's sort of like electricity. So I have another friend, Bill Shope, that's talking about just the orchestration layer being the most important element of all this stuff now. But intelligence is just dropping like crazy. Jaeden, I think we were on air, so to speak, when was it 03 that dropped by 80% or something like that in terms of cost. I mean, anybody that thinks like, oh, well, it's going to be too expensive, it's dropping precipitously. So that's huge. The other thing, Jaeden, I thought was really interesting was that he kind of hinted at GPT-5. He said sometime this summer, and no newsflash here, we are in the summer already. They're working on it. The cool thing about GPT-5, and I think GPT-5 has had a lot of confusion around it, or at least I've been confused around it, trying to figure out, like, what is it exactly? It sounds like Sam Altman was saying on this podcast, I think it was the OpenAI one with Andrew Main, was this idea that it's going to bring together everything, which is partially a UX issue, which I'm super excited about. A couple of things he was just mentioning in the podcast, because it's worth mentioning, and we can always get back to the record function, which looks really cool. Tell me if you believe this number, by the way, on the side. He was talking about like Meta trying to poach their employees with $100 million signing bonuses. We've already seen, with Character AI, with Scale AI, this kind of like acqui-hire with Inflection, with where you're essentially paying the main person easily over $100 million, right, by buying for billions of dollars. But I don't know. It sounds like a little bit of an exaggeration. But anyway, point being, Jaeden, there is a cornucopia of OpenAI news. So what was interesting to you about all
Okay, well, the one that I want to hit first is the $100 million offers. I think this made a lot of headlines. And then I want to talk about GPT-5 and some predictions and thoughts on it. But yeah, with the $100 million offers, like, yes, I think Meta has tried to grab some of maybe the top couple AI people. You could think of like Ilya Sutskever maybe would be like one of those people. the way Sam Altman made it seem, like talked about it, was just like, oh yeah, like they're just trying to grab all of our like AI researchers, and
Mhm.
it's like, okay, there's probably like two, maybe three,
Yes.
possibly, that they were making those big offers to. Were those offers realistic? Honestly, I don't think they would be too far off, because if you could get someone like Ilya Sutskever, yeah, it would
Right.
100% be worth $100 million for Meta. Um, that being said, probably some version of cash and stock. I think he said it was like all cash, which I don't think they're going to give $100 million all cash a year. But, who knows? We see like there is some interesting precedent with Microsoft going and grabbing someone like Mustafa
Right.
Suleyman
Right.
to lead. And so, like, there are like a very small handful of these like absolute legends in the space that wrote the original, papers on these research papers on this AI technology. And so, like, if you land one, yes, it makes a big difference, and they're probably worth $100 million. So that's my thought on that. As far as GPT-5 goes, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. This is something I'm definitely super excited about. And yeah, it sounds like it's essentially a roll up. They're going to put all of their tools together. Possibly ChatGPT Operator would also be in that.
Ooh,
And
cool.
if that's the case, I would be thrilled. Instead of asking ChatGPT like just questions, now you're asking it to do things for you, which is really cool. I've been paying for ChatGPT Operator for the last month because
Mhm.
they added their reasoning model to it, and I found it's really good. I've been so busy moving the last couple weeks that I haven't actually used it, so I gotta use it to get my money's worth out of my $200. But I used it a couple times when I first got it, and was impressed by how far it had come since the last time I got it, like, I don't know, a few months ago. I kind of get it every once in a while, test it out, see how good it is. If it's not good enough for my current project, cancel it, because I don't want a $200 a month subscription I'm not using. But yeah, it's really impressive, and if it gets any better and it's rolled into GPT-5, I'll be quite impressed.
Yeah.
And then the one thing I'm really excited about, let me know your thoughts, is if nothing else, and I'm sure they're going to do a million other things, but if nothing else, making it so I don't have a drop down of 7 different AI models to
I
choose from
mean,
with ChatGPT.
seriously.
I ask it a question and it has an AI model that can just determine what AI model will answer the question best. I do this literally with my startup AI box. We
Mhm.
have a default model on there where you ask it a question, and I'm not just looking at like the top OpenAI models. I'm looking at the top 40 different AI models that exist in the world from different
Yeah.
companies, and I've got to pick the best one. So if we can figure out how to do that, surely OpenAI can figure out how to just pick what model is best, and I don't have to know O3 mini high
Yeah.
whatever. I just want them to just answer the question. So I'm excited. I think it's going to get a lot simpler, and I think for end users, they will be a lot happier with the
But
results.
that's what you want, Jaeden, right? You want the user interface. And this is the cool thing about, if you've heard us talk about it before, but AI boxes, Jaden's startup, which is, we prayed that it would blow up, didn't know, but it did blow up, which is awesome. Congratulations to Jaeden. But it's just this, and more really, my favorite features are still coming too. But it's this model where you pay $20 a month for AI Box, AIbox.ai, I think it is. And you can just test models side by side. And that's the most critical thing. That's what we're all looking for, right? We're all looking to sort of see like, well, do I need O3? Do I need 4.0 or something like that? But with AI Box, I love because you can also put Claude in there, you can put Grok in there, all that sort of stuff. It's been super helpful for me. But on the on the ChatGPT interface, exactly. If it can pick, I mean, I've been trying to use O3 Pro every once in a while, but Jaeden, I don't know when to use O3 Pro because it actually takes forever. It's not deep research forever, but you need this sort of like. So I actually, in the same conversation, I actually switch between 4.0, O3, etc. And the reason is that O3 just gives me like tables and really thought, and I love it as a consultant, but sometimes I just need an answer and it just tries to overcomplicate everything. O3 Pro is just takes forever. It's brilliant, but takes forever. So I tend to stick with 4.0. But again, it really depends on, this is why AI Box is cool, because it really depends on what you're trying to ask. But as it's coming out with that, they're integrating, as you say, O3 into some of their core products like Operator. And you've used Operator more than me, but I've been messing around with it. I'm more impressed with Operator than I thought I would be. I think it's more advanced than, I don't know. Maybe maybe the changes come over the last month, or maybe it was just the O3 getting involved. But I don't know. It's more advanced than I thought, and I'm sort of like, agents are coming. But the other cool thing, just in terms of practicality, guys, like a couple things. First of all, if you haven't tried the connectors on ChatGPT, get in there, go to your settings, click on connectors. It's a little bit weird. We could almost do a whole episode on this because you have to use deep research for it to access your email and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of weird. I was on with OpenAI again doing a project with them, and I had a chance to talk to them about all this stuff. So it's a little weird. It's a little clunky right now, but connectors are there. Jaeden and I had a podcast where we were trying to get it to work, couldn't get it to work. But the other really cool thing that hasn't gotten a ton of press, I feel like, is this ChatGPT Record thing. And so Record is sort of like, you can imagine this functionality you have on Teams or on Zoom or something like that. And essentially, you have to have a MacBook, right? I mean, you have to have like, because I don't think it's on the phone. It's just on the app on iOS. But you just kind of hit go on it or whatever, and it has like real-time transcription, and you can record meetings and brainstorming sessions and all that sort of stuff, recording audio, all in real time, displaying a live timer. It gives you structured summaries, it gives you actionable outputs, it gives you searchable knowledge, all this really, really cool stuff, which is unbelievably practical, which I will be using all the time, because it's not just like getting a transcript of something. It's actually processing that information in real time. So I don't know. There's a ton that's kind of flown a little bit under the radar that I'm really excited about with ChatGPT.
Yeah, I think the record thing is cool. We're seeing Zoom and Google Meets and everyone else kind of adding these same like AI recording. Tons of different AI startups are doing it as well. So I think it's a no brainer for them to kind of start building that into their software and into
Yeah.
their applications. At the end of the day, though, I wonder if like you have these like AI meeting transcriber note taking tools and software, and like I just feel like those will be able to go more in depth than what OpenAI will do per se, just because like that's what their whole startup is about. So they'll probably have more features, but I'd be curious to see if OpenAI can compete directly with that. I'm always excited when they're rolling out new stuff, if nothing else, because they're showing people what's capable, and makes them focus on making their own technology better at doing those types of tasks. So other people that are accessing API will be able to do them well. So yeah, very, very cool. Last thing I want to say is there has been some really interesting news this week around OpenAI. Apparently, they found some features inside of their AI models that they say correspond to different personas. So this is a really interesting one. It's a kind of in-depth and kind of technical thing, but essentially they published this thing where they essentially said that inside their AI model, there's some internal representation that dictates how an AI model responds, which often seems so humans do not understand like what these numbers mean, but they were able to find a pattern. And whenever the model misbehaved, this specific pattern lit up. So the researchers then, I know it's crazy, they were able to
Misbehaves is a great
find
word.
one of these specific patterns that corresponded to quote unquote toxic behavior, which was really interesting. But all this to say, it means that the model was lying or trying to give irresponsible suggestions. And they were able, with this pattern, to actually turn up or down the toxicity using adjusting the specific feature.
Nuts.
So it's kind of crazy. Some people have compared it to like different humans and how we like neurons in our brain fire in certain ways when we're being quote unquote toxic or whatever. So it is really, really interesting. And it's cool because they're actually building on some previous research that Anthropic did. And they're essentially finding that they have this new pattern that they can turn up and make a model more aligned or safer by turning this up and down. And it's not something where they're just like, be a more aligned model, like
Right.
be a safer model. Like they're not telling it in a prompt to do that. They're just tweaking this thing on the back end. And so that is better because, obviously if a model was trying to be super misaligned at some point in the future and take over the world, it probably wouldn't listen to you unless you're manually turning down its, super villain. Yeah, they said it's kind of like it's like a cartoon villain when it's really
Oh
firing off
my
on these
gosh,
things.
Jaeden,
So
this is such a great place to end the podcast, because we're going a little long anyway. But I was so fascinated by this that I wasn't watching the time. But I love the idea of ending the podcast on. So it's kind of like a supervillain is going to take over, and if it's misaligned, it's not going to listen to you anyway. Anyway, everybody, if you like today, it's so good. Listen, I didn't mean to cut you off. Any final thoughts on that, Jaeden?
no, I'm just super fascinated by it. And that I just think overall it's awesome because we're getting to a point where we're starting to understand how the models work. It's less of a
Yeah,
black
huge,
box.
huge.
Anthropic and OpenAI are both investing a lot of money into that. So super exciting stuff. But hey, if you guys enjoyed the episode today, make sure to leave a rating and review. Drop a comment over on Apple. We love all the podcast comments. We read them all, and they help the show get shown to more people. So helps a lot in the algorithms. And drop some stars over on Spotify if you're listening there. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. And hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.